Broadcasting from the depths of outer space.
Hello, I'm alive. What's going on?
By your command.
Fascinating.
God damn you all to hell!
It's the Solo Sci-Fi Podcast.
This is episode 63 of the Solo One Sci-Fi Podcast. Michael Ball on the show this week with my friend all the way across the pond in sunny New Jersey. I don't know if it's sunny today. It's Mr. Tom Julian. Hello, Tom.
Hey, how you doing? You're correct, sir. It is actually very sunny today. Sunny and a little bit warmer than it has been.
Yeah.
We're no longer living on Hoth here.
Okay.
It had been quite a winter on Wonderland for a while.
Right. Okay.
It's,
I mean,
now that's going away.
I mean, I've seen all this obviously wintry images of places like Texas, and obviously that's further south than you are. And yeah, interesting. I've not hardly seen any snow here in Portsmouth, UK this year. We had a tiny dusting, but because we're right by the seafront, because the higher salt content in the air, it reduces the chance of snow forming because of the salt.
Right.
And it's just because you live near the sea. But I think for some reason we just don't get a lot of snow here. So
I think it's your abundance of magical nannies that helps keep the snow away.
Yeah. Whatever it is, whatever works. Yeah, but it's I'm looking forward to spring now. I want to get into warmer times, and just I love spring. I'm not a winter fan, so that's not good. Just say, people, this is our very first show. Martin couldn't make it today, so sorry, Martin, but he said he should be back next week. And we were just talking off air about what we're thinking about doing soon. May well be doing WandaVision Season 1 review next week, which Tom suggested. I also want to do Picard as well. But for this week, we are going to be focusing on Season 5 of The Expanse, which we've all seen. We've all thoroughly enjoyed, I think. And although we have covered The Expanse before, I think what we're going to do with the podcast, for certain seasons of well-known series, we can go back, talk about the main story of that season, the pros, the cons, the things we like, the surprises. And I think this is going to prove to be a really interesting one for discussion, which is good. We're also going to have a challenge of the week, which, I don't know when you did this, it was a while ago. Tom talked about a film which he sent me a trailer for, and it looked quite bizarre. And today, as promised, I sat down, and luckily it wasn't as long as I thought it was going to be. It's 1 hour 40 minutes, so it wasn't a really 2.5 hour slow, sort of like hog to sort of get through it. I've seen it, and we're going to talk about my opinion of it. I didn't do notes this time. I thought I'd just talk to you generally, because it's an interesting film. It's definitely challenge worthy, so that'll be fine. So I think at that point, I'm ready to go into the news of the week.
Let's do it.
All right, here we go. Here's the jingle.
Working.
Solo Sci-Fi
News.
All right, so this week I've encountered a few things which will be interesting for people in the sci-fi community. First of all, I'm starting to hear that the character of Cara Dune from The Mandalorian, the actress, got sacked. I mean, you probably heard about this, did you, Tom? That
Yeah, I sure did.
She put some negative comments on Twitter, which, of course, as a responsible person, you've got to. There's certain things you shouldn't go in. She went directions which most people feel. I mean, do you want to talk about how do you feel about this whole thing? Do you think it was understandable that Lucasfilm fired her, or was it without sort of?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
The things you were saying were pretty disturbing. I mean, this is very unnecessary things about comparing certain things to the Holocaust. I think really
exactly. That was really stupid thing to do.
Yeah, very.
And it's a shame because
very crazy and.
I think the sad thing is that the actress, I can't remember her name, but she was just on the cusp of probably getting her own Star Wars series, and probably setting herself up career-wise for a long time. So the reason I brought this up, because I always also have mentioned this to Martin, is apparently now they are talking about replacing her with a character from the Rebel series. She is the Trilek character, the one with the green. What's the Trilek character called? I can't remember her name. Hera.
Oh,
Hera.
nice.
So possibly.
Yeah,
That makes sense, because I mean Hera is. I mean I'm going through Rebels now. I'm into the 4th season, so this is why it was embarrassing that her name escaped me for a minute. I think it's because when you're on recording, you know. I could see her as a great alternative to Cara Dune's character, introduced perhaps in season 3 of The Mandalorian, and then she gets the own series, because they talk about her doing this Rebels series. So
that'd be very neat. Any predictions on the actor they're going to get to play?
No, I haven't. I mean, I've also heard that they're casting Ezra in one of the live action series as well. So it looks like they're now going to be pulling all the animated series. And what I've done is I've been watching the animated series. Although they're very good, I'm not really an animated big series fan. I'm much more of a live action fan. But I've got so much backstory of the Star Wars universe in both these series, which I've nearly finished both, and they are very, very well made together, very well done. And of course, it's so good because they're already bringing out all these characters from these 2 respective series, and they're implementing into these live action forthcoming series. So it's very exciting. So it depends obviously on the actor they get, but yeah, I can see these characters making the Star Wars universe even more interesting. It's really interesting.
So I heard that Hayden Christensen, who originally played Anakin Skywalker, been cast into the Obi-Wan series to play Darth Vader.
And I've also heard that the actor that plays Darth Maul at the moment, he's turning himself up, and apparently he might appear. But then I don't know, because I've just watched Rebels, where I thought that Maul died when he faced against Obi-Wan Kenobi. So I'm a bit confused about that, but I don't know exactly when the Kenobi series is set. I thought it was set in a similar time to Rebels.
Yeah, so that's going to really tell you when. That's actually the death of Darth Maul in the Rebel series is one of my most favorite moments of all Star Wars.
Yeah,
Star Wars.
I was very surprised to see it actually, because but you know, interesting. But like I said, I don't know. I'll have to see about that. That's because I first heard the Maul idea, but then I subsequently watched the episode where his character died in Rebels. So that might be you know, sometimes you get stuff and it's not necessarily genuine. It's just clickbait kind of thing. So that's okay. So
we'll see.
We'll see indeed. Other news. The new Star Wars series, Bad Batch, apparently is going to be released. The first episode will be on May the 4th. Which of course is appropriate. So we've already seen the characters of the Bad Batch in an episode of Clone Wars. I think it was a 2-parter in season 7. So yeah, that looks interesting. I hope they'll do something well with those characters there. What other news have I got for you this end?
The Falcon and the Winter Soldier is coming out on March 19th.
All right, which one was that?
Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That's Marvel.
Oh, okay. Is that something? I'm not familiar with that one. Is that quite a well-known part of Marvel? Okay, brilliant.
Oh yeah, that's great. So the Falcon is sort of the heir apparent to Captain America in the end of the Marvels movies, and the Falcon and the Winter Soldier was sort of the Bucky Barnes series of it's Captain America's best friend. And what's cool about them is they clearly don't get along, so there is going to be a little bit of a sort of a buddy cop feel about them as they go about what they do, sort of bickering with one another as well as and then fighting the bad guys. It looks like a lot of fun.
Brilliant. Okay. Other news. Apparently, there's a new series which is coming up. It's going to be in production with. It's called Light Years. And it stars Sissy Spacek. Yeah, you heard about this? I've not heard about this.
That one sounds great.
Is Ed O'Neill? Is that the guy that was in Married with Children? Is that the actor? I love that series. Oh well, if he's in it, and I like Sissy Spacek as well. So that looks interesting. I've only heard about that today. So obviously you've heard about that as well.
Ed O'Neill is one of those underrated actors. He's got a much bigger range than people give him credit for. I think it's a little when they say, oh no, he's that guy from this or that or sitcom or whatnot. He's sort of I don't know. I put him in the same world as Bryan Cranston, who had so many roles that were, sort of just the random silly dad, but
yeah,
you
sure.
realize how terrifying he was in Breaking Bad.
Yes. I mean, Breaking Bad is one of our family. Obviously, it's not science fiction, but I honestly, I've seen the whole series twice, and it's one of the best series I think I've ever seen. It's just so solid, and I like the TV movie that came after it as well. Yeah, brilliant series. I've never got into Better Call Saul though. I have seen some of it, and I know that series gets into Breaking Bad or close to it in its latter seasons, but I never quite clicked with that series yet, so I have to try that one out as well. What else have I got today? Oh, we had some Trek news. Lower Decks will arrive on Blu-ray on DVD in May. I assume that's in the States. I don't know about over here. Lower Decks is okay. I wasn't mad on it, but it was okay. It's an animated series.
I haven't gotten into it yet.
Yeah, I mean it's. Have you not seen it at all?
I've seen little bits of it. I've never watched an entire episode of it, to be honest.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's okay. It's all right. I mean, I don't dislike it, but it's, it's like the new cartoon Star Trek series Prodigy, which is going to be particularly focused at children. Although it's got Kate Mulgrew involved, I have to say I don't think I'm going to be trying that out unless it's just really there for me to try. Yeah. I don't know. It doesn't really appeal to me. Apparently, Robert Duncan McNeil, who played Tom Paris in Voyager, he's lobbying Paramount Plus for his own Captain Proton series. I don't know about that with Chaotica and everything. I mean, I remember that was in season 5 of Voyager, and Queen Arachnid or something, and it was all right. I don't know whether it's strong enough to make a whole spin-off series, but that's interesting.
Who knows about that? That could be. I always get a little suspicious when an actor is lobbying for their own thing.
I remember. I mean, we've had George Takei. He tried to get his own Excelsior series, or Sulu series, years ago, and then Michael Dorn tried to get a Captain Worf series. And they've always failed. So one thing which does look positive on the Voyager side, though, is that there is a new, like a Kickstarter thing for a new Voyager documentary. And it's just like what you left behind with the DS9 documentary, which was fantastic.
That was incredibly fun. Thank you for sending that my way. I really
that's right. I forgot about that. I forgot that I told you about that. So you enjoyed it. But at the moment, the funding, they wanted to reach $150,000. It only started recently, and at the moment they had stretch goals. But it's now at $367,000. So it's broken its first stretch goal. It's broken its second stretch goal. It's near to its third, and so it's going very well. And the reason, partly why I want to bring this up, is that I honestly think that if Paramount didn't want to commit to making a high def version of Voyager and DS9, which is something I really would like, I'm surprised they don't have some sort of like partial, halfway, or at least a part in the way where fans could contribute towards them paying the other half or whatever element to actually make a DS9 Voyager Blu-ray high def version of those two respective series, because the Next Generation did it, but it lost money. We know that, and it was a real shame because they did such a great job. But to me, the 24th century era of Star Trek, for me at least, is probably my favourite era. I just like those respective 3 series all intertwining, and just that point in the time of Star Trek. And of course, DS9 and Voyager, I would be so happy if they did that. I don't know if they ever will. It's just such a shame. I just love to see it in high def.
I like to think of that as the golden age of Star Trek. I don't know. I mean,
I think of it. I do. I think from the late 80s till the early 2000s, especially the 90s actually, and during that period with all the films as well. Yeah, I would consider that the golden age of Star Trek, where there was so much going on, and it was so much of it was such good high quality. I'd agree. I would say the golden age of Star Trek for me is not the 60s. The 80s it started. It was the 90s. Absolutely.
I agree. I agree. I think there was some key mistakes with the later films in that series. They sort of faltered a little bit, and I don't think that the Next Generation cast really got what could be considered a send-off.
They wanted to do one more apparently after Nemesis, which would have been a send-off, and of course because Nemesis didn't do well, it was a bit like the reaction to Last Jedi and Solo with Star Wars, because Last Jedi was so badly received, it affected Solo, and that's why they stopped doing these singular movies. But of course with Star Trek that was the same with Nemesis. I actually don't mind Nemesis. I think it had some good points in it, but
it did. It didn't feel like it was. It
was missing something.
It was missing something. It was missing heart. It didn't quite identify with the characters. It had Tom Hardy in it.
Yeah.
As the younger man, and I mean it's got a cool scenario where it's like it could have dovetailed into some more maybe unification type arcs,
that would have been interesting,
and how that could have affected Picard and
the Federation and exactly,
and even Spock could have been involved in that, but it kind of just went into sort of monster of the week with those F. Murray Abraham's in it, and he's like this guy with all this makeup, and he's trying to live.
Yeah, that was the one before. That was Insurrection, wasn't it? Insurrection was.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, he was in Insurrection with the Nemesis with the Romulan and obviously Shinzon. So that was the one after.
Right. That was the guy that was a clone of Picard. Or
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what, but he didn't look anything like.
I mixed them up.
That's all right.
But I guess that speaks to it, is that
bit blurred.
There's no way to mix up some of the stronger entries, but those are sort of middling.
Well, First Contact is considered the best Next Generation movie. I actually like Generations a lot. I think Generations is actually a good link between Kirk and Picard. But like I said, in the end, it's funny, isn't it? But like whatever happened, I mean, like I said, they've got the Star Trek Picard series now. That apparently started filming season 2 in Los Angeles. I think that's been done. Strange New Worlds is just on the cusp of starting to be filmed as well. That's the big one that Martin and me are looking forward to. That I want standalone episodes. I want the ship flying in, Captain's Log. I would like an intro with from Captain Pike at the beginning. That'd be. I mean, I'm really scared they're going to mess it up. I really am. I'm very nervous.
I think that has a great opportunity to sort of wink and nod and go back to how things were done in the old days, and just do something really cool and special. Yeah. And move a little bit away from the long arcs and more into the ship of the week type stuff. Those are fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, the best way is having the like most regular recent Doctor Who has got a week arc, but a lot of the episodes are quite standalone or two-parters. And of course, The Mandalorian is exactly the same for the first 2 seasons. With all right, they're going to get Grogu home or to the Jedi, but every episode it was like a different adventure, and you end up doing something else. And I love that. Mandalorian is so good because you could just delve into a random episode like old Star Trek and just enjoy it for half an hour or 45 minutes. That's what I'd like back.
It captured a sort of, it's going to be very almost Mandalorian generally got formulaic. It would be like he goes somewhere, meets someone new, they take him on a side quest, and he's either taken further away or closer to helping Grogu at the end.
Yes, absolutely.
It really fits in, if you think about it. That fits in really nicely with the way the classic Star Wars was constructed, with a little bit of story, fun, amazing action scene, and then take you forward a little bit.
Absolutely.
So I love it.
Me too.
One other thing I've been loving is season 2 of For All Mankind has come back.
Oh, I've not seen that. Tell me about that. What do you like about it?
I love it. I'm sort of an alternate history fan, and it's really the story of what would happen if the Russians got to the moon first.
Oh, I love that sort of idea. Yeah.
And the first season started off a little bit out of the gate, a little weak, but the second season is doing really well.
Right.
Just really cool, and like they've got like almost 100 people on the moon, and the Russians are there. We're there.
I like that. I mean, there's another series. I don't know what it's called, but it's like an alternate America where Germany won the war, and you see what's that series called?
In the Dark Tower. No,
yeah.
Is it Tall Tower or
something like that? I mean, it's close to that if it's not exact, but that looks quite good. I just never got round to checking it out. But that looks like something which might be quite interesting to watch. much.
Yeah, it's the commitment. But I got one more thing before we jump into our next.
Yeah, sure, go for it.
I can't. It's not science fiction, but I cannot wait for Coming to America Part 2 to come out.
I can't wait. I think it's Friday this week.
It's Friday. The cast
I'm going to see
unbelievable.
that. I'm a big Eddie Murphy. I love 80s American comedy series. Eddie Murphy. One of my favorite films of all time is Trading Places. And I like Beverly Hills Cop. And I love Coming to America #1 as well. And I've seen that, he's back with all the very characters that he dressed up in the first one. So is Antonio Hall as well, I think his name is. He's in it as well. Looks great. Yeah, we can talk about that a bit next week if you like to see, get your perspective.
Yeah, I just bring it back. I mean, Leslie Jones is in it. Tracy Morgan. The new cast looks great. They're making all kinds of great jokes about Wakanda and stuff like that. It just looks hilarious.
I saw some trailers. It looks really funny, and I'd definitely like to check that out. Yeah,
and Wesley Snipes is also in it. So he wasn't in the first one.
No, he wasn't.
He's in this one as like a crazy general.
Okay.
And he looks fantastic. It looks. I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Brilliant. Well, we'll look forward to that. And although it's a sci-fi podcast, I don't mind talking about a few other things which we both like. So yeah, we'll have a talk about it next week and see what we think. Right. I think at that point we'll go into the focus of the week. Here we go.
It's the
Solar Sci-Fi
focus of the week.
So this week is a big series which we have talked about before, but I think when we focus on the Expanse, I think that's before you came on the show, so we've not talked to you about the show generally, but we really want to focus on season 5 of course, the Expanse. Now, I have really been. This is actually interesting because this is very different. This series, it is a very arced story. It's not standalone. But I like that. I mean, I don't mind in certain series like this where you have the long-term arc. So, of course, we have season 5. We started off with Exodus. The series was how many episodes in season? It was 10 episodes of season 5. So let me just ask generally at the beginning, what did you think about season 5? Did you read the stories before you saw the TV version, or did you go into it not knowing?
No, in fact, I've only read the first book.
Right.
And my experience secondarily has been with the TV series, and they really, blow me away as far as being like kind of gold standard of doing this type of TV that's both deep storytelling and great production values. I can't. Whenever anybody asks me, hey, what are you watching? I ask them if they've watched that.
Yeah.
And usually it's, The Expanse, For All Mankind, and What We Do in the Shadows are like 3 things I recommend people watch.
Right.
But The Expanse is, it's really reached new heights this year. And oddly enough, all the characters are separated from them.
Yes, I was about to say that. It was very separated. They all had their own little storylines. And that was quite a surprise, actually. I mean, I think the characters, Naomi's story to me was probably the strongest story of the season. I thought with her quest to get to find her son, and of course he's older, very bitter, and of course Marco's character was fantastic as well. Oh my God!
If season 5 was literally only about the Belters, I would have been perfectly fine with it.
Well, I mean, I talked about when Martin and I reviewed it initially. He said how he liked the fact that it has some real physics, like the fact that if you have like a ship battle, all the bullets go through the ship, and people react. And of course, everyone's got magnetic boots, and of course, inertia is another thing, which is of course more of a factor because in most science fiction you have inertial dampeners, so you don't have that. So that's more of a geeky scientist sort of side of things, but. Yeah, it was just such a solid. I mean, the Belters have always been this series where they are this roguish kind of bitter, chip on their shoulder kind of, almost like a subhuman race. And also, one thing I love about this, which is actually quite interesting, is that a lot of the Belters are made of actors from mixed races. which I think is another very good thing, because of course in the future that will be more the norm. Obviously, you know, in the past we were all on our own continents, and of course the world is getting smaller all the time, and normally COVID permitting, you'd be travelling around and meeting people, and you know, and I thought that was very clever, and I like the fact that their dialects, they had their own sort of dialect, which is almost a broken English. It's almost separating into its own language. That's so clever. That was awesome.
It is amazing. That is a Belta. I've gone online and there's like entire dictionaries of the language and things like that, that they've developed.
Are you kidding? I didn't know that. They've actually made their own, because they talk, but they set certain letters and verbs are different. And we are Belters, we are talking like this. I'm not very good at it.
Boss man.
But they do sound a bit like they're from the Caribbean, some of them. But I mean, it's interesting.
Right, and that, to me, that's almost the more fascinating part of it.
I actually thought that was one of the most interesting aspects about the fact that
it's not just the language; it's the accent and the way that they communicate. And if you notice,
body language, right? And obviously they have their tattoo markings, and it's I love that. That is so cleverly. I've never seen a show which has done that in that way before.
It is. They've really dove into it. Like they could have done that on the surface. But they did it in a way,
very unique.
Jared Harris was on the show, and I hope that he comes back. He's one of my favorite actors.
Right.
He was on the show as a main belter bad guy, or not even a bad guy, just a main belter.
Wasn't he one in the early seasons? He also appeared in Chernobyl. Is that actor?
Yes.
Yeah, I wonder what happened to him. Did he die? I couldn't remember if he died. His character died.
I think he's still around.
Yeah,
I just think he's been off.
He was
somewhere.
great. He was great in that.
He really was. He really
was.
Great. But I initially, when I first heard the accent, I thought it was a little weird because it does kind of sound like a Caribbean accent.
It does. It
but
does.
If you listen to it closely, it's like
it's not. It's a sort of tangent from that.
It's a little everything. It's like, you know, Russian, South African.
Yes. It's like a mix. Again, that goes back to the mixed races thing, where mixed dialects eventually, because they're so cut off from Earth, they've made their own sort of accent from different parts of the world. But that happens in real life. That happened with Australia, obviously, when you know, that's colonized 200 years ago, and of course America, and you know, I love all that. I think that's fascinating, and it works very well because you know, like in the UK, literally our accents are a lot more than what I consider American accents. I mean, literally, you can drive down 20 miles down the road and there's a different accent. And there's literally about 50. I should send you a link to them. There's about 50 different British regional accents. You know, because I think it's like, from my perspective, an American accent, I can normally just tell a general American accent, a gruff New York accent, and the southern twang, you know, like that to me. But of course, over here,
that's about right. That's the three main ones. There's like a Midwestern accent, like that's really kind of based on, if you see anybody on TV, like a talk show host, you know, like they're using a sort of flat regular accent. Then you have the New York accent. Then the Boston accent is also really, really distinctive.
Right.
Somebody from Boston. That's almost like somebody from, you know, it's very heavily influenced by the Irish accent.
I mean, I was going to say we have so many as well. I mean, we have like Liverpool. We talk like that. Liverpool, like, all right. That's how they talk. That's how they are in Liverpool. So, and then you have obviously
the Peaky Blinders accent.
Which one?
The Peaky Blinders.
Peaky Blinders. Which one's that?
Well, you've never seen that show?
No.
From, oh my God! You've never seen Peaky Blinders?
I've heard of it.
Okay.
Actually, you might have mentioned that before. Actually,
it's extremely well done trash TV. It's gangsters in northern England in the 20s. They're all dressed to the nines, and they're violent, and they smoke and drink all the time. Storylines are outlandish, but really pretty neat, and random, like Winston Churchill shows up once in a while. It's a great show. It's one of those things that you know, I like to refer to it as beautiful nonsense.
Yeah.
Like if you ever watch one of my other favorite shows, the new Pope or the young Pope that came out a couple of years ago on HBO, it starred. It was just completely nonsensical, but fun, interesting, weird stuff going on. And it's the same for that. It's very cool. But yeah, the accents in that show are great. But I think you've got the northern accent, that London accent, things I'm familiar with.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but obviously going to do the Martians on the Expanse, do they have their own accent as well? Because
I have not heard a Martian accent.
Yeah, because you've got that one character, the one that's the soldier woman with dark hair. She sounds Australian.
She's her
New Zealand
ethnicity is from a Micronesia near New Zealand.
Right.
I think she's
right.
Yeah,
so, I wonder
I think she might be Maori.
Right. But I wondered whether I could tell that she was roughly in that part of the world. But I wondered whether that was indicative of a Martian accent, which is also slightly changed over the time. But I don't know. Like I said, it's not so. No. If it is, it's a lot more subtle than the general Melter's accent.
Yeah, I haven't seen a Martian accent. I know other things about them. I'm fascinated by. Well, you know what? There is sort of a Martian accent, but it's not consistent. Alex Kumar, the pilot.
Yeah.
If you notice, he has a Texas accent.
Oh, I hadn't noticed
and
that.
It's not his real accent. It's in the books. There were like 20,000 settlers from China and India, and 400 people from Texas settled in this one area on Mars, and everybody thought the Texas accent was cool and adopted it. Right. That's why he's an Indian guy with a Texas accent. And that's why if you ever go through and see like the bars they go to on Mars, they're all like these honky-tonk country music joints.
Yeah,
it's because some of the very early settlers were all from Texas, and Texas has such high connection to the old space program, and like fighter pilots talk with Texas accents. Yeah. It's a strange thing in the United States. Oftentimes, fighter pilots in the military, the Marines, Air Force, etc., will over time adopt the Texas drawl, just because everybody in there.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's in the right. If you read, I read the book The Right Stuff. It's in that.
Right.
Everybody who's in that, they just kind of go with the flow, and they're like talking like your pilots, and that's if you go and you take an American domestic airline flight.
Yeah.
Like, wow, all these pilots that fly for for United or whatever, they all Texas accents. They kind of adopt that as an affectation over time.
Wow. I have to say at this point, I know it's at the end of the season, I was sad to see Alex's character killed off. That was a bit. I mean, that was another situation which happened to something to the actor, which we're not going to go into. Yeah. But I think they had to sort of the way they killed him off through inertia or something, like a stroke or something. It was a shock, and it was a shame to do that. But in the end, there's still a lot of the rest of the cast is still there. So, what are some of the other?
I really liked him.
Yeah, I did too.
I know as a character, I really liked the character.
Yeah, it's a shame that the character was killed off, but like I said, it's just the way it goes, isn't it? Sometimes these things happen.
Yeah.
What about some of the other characters? What did you like about some of their particular stories this season?
So, Amber Sabala, I just love her.
Right.
She's and the actress that plays her is so lovely. Sometimes she'll like my tweets. Once in a while.
Yeah.
If she tweets something and you say, "Oh, that sounds great," or you look, she always dresses up in these amazing saris and cool costumes and such. You can say she looks fabulous. She'll like smile back. She's an amazingly fun actress, and I just love her art. The way that she was sort of down and out, she was working on the moon and doing random stuff, and then what happened, and she was trying to figure out what was going on with the rocks that were flying in, and she really was, she was on the sly working with that military guy.
Yeah.
And she knew the whole time what was going on.
Yeah, she wasn't stupid. She could see it. Yeah, she could see what was happening. Yeah, she was really good.
Was great. And I have to say, my other favorite character of the whole season was Amos.
Oh yeah.
Amos going back and having those sort of very almost meandering adventures on Earth.
It was strange because he ended up cut off, and then he was going in the snow and had to walk. What was his? I can't remember his colleague, the one that had these bursts of energy and sort of like I like they're done. And she took over from Alex's sort of character at the end. She's going to be on the ship now. I saw that at the end of the season. I thought we had some very, again, what you said earlier on, it was very standalone. It was almost like spin-offs in many ways, these episodes, where you literally almost focus on one character and their plight and whatever, and then it'll go the next week back to the other characters. Yeah, he certainly had an interesting season.
But what I loved about it, though, was its ability to keep the family together, because even though they're all apart, Amos keeps lamenting that, oh man, I got to get back to my ship, I got to get back to my captain. When he really sort of has a break where he, when they like sneak into that guy's house and end up killing him in the woods, he says something like, my captain would have never let that happen. Where he's sort of losing his way. And the same thing with Bobby and Alex. They were trying to go and get oh god, I'm spacing. Naomi. When they were going, it was all. I think the entire thing was about family defined as what you choose it to be. The whole season.
It is. I mean, that's one thing I like about it. It's a story about very strong family commitments in a very hostile and quite a dark universe. What do you think of Bobby's character this year?
I love Bobby because she's such a badass. It's like when she had those great moments when they were connected to the Belter ship.
Yeah.
And she's in the armor and she's kind of like going over and shoots the guy through the across the walkway and all that kind of stuff. And that scenario, her and Alex together are cool.
They make a good. Good. That's going to say they work well together, don't they?
Yeah, and I love the sort of broad arc she had, kind of working for Abrasavala. Doing all that kind of spy girl stuff, which was really cool because she sort of was a lost soul. She had grown up on Mars and ended up helping the people from
Earth, and then she felt sort of bad about that, and she felt it was a major sort of change.
Ostracized, to be honest. Like she'd show up places and people would turn her back, and they didn't want anything to do with her. Yeah. And now at the end of the season, she ends up sort of being an ambassador to Mars.
Sure.
Some capacity, but craziness, galore going on. But I think we have to talk more about the Belters and more what was going on with Naomi's family with her son.
Yeah. That was to me that was one of the main focuses of the year was Naomi with the estranged relationship with her son, and of course he was so bitter and brainwashed by Marco, and of course she's come back and she's a woman who's literally devastated, and of course, and it was just so. It's just the way it went. It was just so solid. And I honestly thought at one point Naomi's character was going to be killed off, especially when she ended up in the airlock, and she looked like she was going to die.
That was brutal.
Oh my god! It was so. Again, the acting, everyone involved with the production, it was just so solid.
She killed that guy that was sort of like her
almost
brother.
like a mentor, yeah. Because he was sort of on the fence because he had a very strong relationship with her, but of course he also had to be there for Marco, and then that was a surprise. And what's the name of the character who's she's a Belter, she's the head of that other ship, and
Drama.
Yes.
Drama. I love her.
I don't know all the names as well as you do, but Drama was really. Drama's always great.
And that even comes back to the theme of family, like her and her little fleet of 2 ships, and they were sort of this family, polyamorous family that spent all their time together and did what they had to. And really, when they were sort of pressed into Marco's Free Navy, they didn't have a choice, and they had to switch and give their crew member to Marcos, and they took Marcos's crew member. That was some crazy stuff. But I loved how it all kind of everything came together, where she was part of the fleet hunting the Rossi and ended up saving the day. Saving that crew there, and turning on her own people to save Holden.
Yeah,
at the end.
Absolutely. I think we should wrap this up relatively soon. But I want to quickly ask you first of all, about. I mean, one thing which we didn't see much this year was the proto molecule, did we? That was more of the back burner, which I was quite surprised about, even though it was there in an aspect of them trying to get some of it. Did you? And also the actual other planets through the disk. They didn't sort of go.
Yeah.
That was kept. It was all in the solar system this year. It was definitely. I thought this year would be more about exploration of those those planets through the.
Right.
But that wasn't. But the end of the season, we saw this really creepy alien sort of ship entity thing. I mean,
Yeah.
I have no idea how it's going to go next season. What do you? I mean,
Yeah.
were you surprised?
I geared up to be a little disappointed because I read the sort of summary big arc of what was supposed to be in this book.
Right.
I'm like, wait a minute, it's not going to be about exploring elsewhere or expanding where they've gone. It's going to be just an arc.
Which is what I thought it would be as well. I was
like, oh man, I don't know if I'm going to love that.
Yeah.
But the whole thing with Marco, who was an incredibly charismatic actor.
God, I know. Did they cast him well? My God, I don't know the actor.
Yeah.
He was fantastic in the role.
Yeah, and he's like, a studly, good-looking guy. I was thinking, did they just bring some random good-looking guy in here, and that guy could,
No. He was a phenomenal actor. I don't know who he was.
Phenomenal.
Yeah,
phenomenal.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just 10 out of 10.
And,
but that's what makes the series so good, because the acting is so good, the special effects are so good, the story is so compelling. Honestly, it's one of the best series I've seen in many years. It's fantastic.
And I love how they cast Philip. The kid that they cast.
Oh my God, he was fantastic. Yeah.
And he looked like genetically exactly like Marco.
He did. Yeah. He really looked like he was related to Naomi. He really did look like Naomi's son. Yeah, absolutely.
Had scenes together. They had such a good, mother-son chemistry, even though they really didn't know each other.
No.
That's the saddest part.
Yeah, it just really worked. It was really solid. It was fantastic. So I just want to sort of, I think we should just sum up soon because we need to go on to our next thing. But I just wanted to say that, it was a really good season. Not quite how I expected it, but I'm very excited about the next season. Any idea when it's going to be made? Do we know its schedule yet? Is it going to be made this year?
It's at least a year away. Next winter.
But they obviously but they'll be making it this year, but it won't be shown until next year. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, maybe next November.
I said, well, like I said, we're gonna. I mean, the thing is, you're gonna have a gap now after all this COVID stuff, where a lot of productions have been put on hold. But I think that I would definitely be back to see season 6, and hopefully, when it's done, we can have another season review next year or whenever it is, if you're still around by then.
Super excited for that. I want to do a season review of WandaVision and For All Mankind. I'm in for all this, but
brilliant.
Do you want to move on to?
I do. I think we should move on. But thank you for that. Okay. Really good discussions.
Okay.
I really appreciate it. Enjoyed it. Right, let's go into this is Tom's challenge to me of the week. Let's hit the jingle. Here we go.
It's the Solar One Challenge of the Week.
All right, so let's just quickly nip some milk because we are sort of running out of time quite soon. Tom told me about a film. You sent me a trailer of a film which I was aware of. I'm a big H.G. Wells fan. I'm a big War of the Worlds fan. Invisible Man. The Island of Dr. Moreau. I've never read the book. I don't know if you've read the book, but there was a film adaptation made with people like Val Kilmer. And of course, the guy in The Godfather, whose name's escaped me. What's his name?
Marlon Brando.
That's it, Marlon Brando. And there's some other English guy in it as well. And
David Fools.
That's it. And you told me give this a go, and because I like the idea of mixing animals with humans. I mean, I was a big fan of Jeff Goldblum's The Fly. I like the original version of The Fly, but the Jeff Goldblum one where, of course, transporting goes wrong and he starts to change the elements of The Fly. I found that compelling. It's one of my all-time favourite horror films. So I put this on, and it starts off quite interesting with this guy on a boat. He ends up on the island, and Val Kilmer's character's there, and then he gets locked away in his room, and he says, "What's going on?" And he starts to encounter these almost like humanoid things, and then you have the Marlon Brando thing. The fact of the matter is, it could have been done so much better. It just felt to me that the whole thing, the first half an hour was quite interesting. I thought it was building up to something interesting. But the second half, it was literally humanoid people infighting with machine guns, shooting each other. Marlon Brando's character's killed off. It was just a mess.
No, it is a. It's not just the film that's a mess, but the creation of this film is a mess.
So tell me what you think about it, because you're the one that told me about it.
I love sort of the concept of disaster.
Right.
For me, I don't want to hear what went right. I love to hear what went wrong. You know, if you ever watch the documentary about the making of the film Apocalypse Now,
right.
It's very similar to this. You know, people, you know, giant egos clashing, you know, storms and things getting washed away. If you think about the
I like apocalyptic films. I do.
But I like apocalyptic films that end up being apocalyptic, like Waterworld. If you remember that movie, that was an incredibly crazy production. So
that was another one which was had a lot of issues. I know about Waterworld.
Yeah. So this movie, you know, they sacked the original director. They brought in, you know, a new guy. Basically, they're writing the script as they're, you know, they're
going with it. They were literally filling in the gaps and just sort of going along with it as it was being produced. And
Marlon Brando was so bored.
He just filmed it in. I mean, Marlon Brando looked like he couldn't give a damn what he was doing. Quite frankly, he sat there.
He put a bucket on his head, and everyone was so in awe of Marlon Brando that no one told him to take it off.
Yeah,
you know, that was part of it. He's like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
So apparently he hated Val Kilmer. Val Kilmer hated him. I don't know. If I was a youngish actor like Val Kilmer and I got to work with Marlon Brando, I'd be pretty.
I'd be in awe. I'd be in his awe. I would certainly be. But maybe Marlon Brando sort of had a bit of an attitude problem. Maybe rubbed up people the wrong way. You know.
I'm sure.
When you sort of like present yourself, if you've got if you act in a certain way which is disrespectful or rude and nasty, you automatically people are going to form an opinion of you. It's just the natural. It's the way of humanity works. So if he came along as like, oh, I've been in all these films, I've been in The Godfather, I've got this silly film with people dressed up as tigers and cats and things, and maybe he just had an attitude about the storyline itself. I don't know. He's obviously just there for the money.
From what I understand, most of the problems came with from the studio hating the director and firing the director, and Val Kilmer being uncontrollable ego.
I mean,
Marlon Brando kind of being like, whatever. But then, you know, lots of other issues with casting.
I thought some of the soundtrack was all right. Some of the soundtrack actually sounded quite good. It wasn't too long. I actually thought that when I was going to see it, it was going to be like 2.5 hours, because Water was another long film. This wasn't too long. But I can see what you said about there's a lot of issues about this, and especially, of course, going into this knowing about, as you said, about the production issues and the people quitting and actors not getting on well. I'm glad I saw it though, because it is an interesting idea, but it just fell flat. It just
it totally did. I'm surprised it even vaguely connects as a film, considering how crazy it was. But when you hear something really fun,
go for it.
Tamora Morrison is one of the hybrids in this. Tamora Morrison is the guy that plays Boba Fett.
Oh, you're joking!
No,
was he? Oh, I wish I'd seen that.
As is Zella
Morrison. Oh my god! I know that Ron Perlman's in it, and of course he was in lots of things.
In it. Slayer of the Law. I love Ron Perlman.
I like Ron Perlman. He's in quite a few things, and he was also in Star Trek Nemesis as well. But lots of things he's been in. Hellboy as well. He was in. But yeah, it was definitely a failed attempt. I don't know if it's an H.G. Wells book. I think it's one of his lesser popular sci-fi books compared to War of the Worlds and The Invisible Man. I'm glad I saw it though. Thank you for that. It's a shame. No, it's good. It's good. It's good to talk about these things.
I don't think it's it's a good movie. I think it's a crazy movie. I think it's worth watching as a fan of cinema.
Yeah,
to understand
it is.
The insanity which can happen when people try to do art together. And
absolutely
egos and such that clash. I would almost think I would love to watch like a comedy version of the making of. But to be honest, there is a comedy version of the making.
They did. Just to say, The Simpsons did do a parody of this film, an episode, a Treehouse of Horror.
Have you seen Tropic Thunder?
No.
Tropic Thunder is essentially a comedy version of the making of Apocalypse Now.
Okay, that sounds good.
It is extremely funny, very crude, but extremely.
That's
funny.
right. I don't mind. I've got quite a crude sense of humor.
Robert Downey Jr.'s in it, and all kinds of other folks are in it. It's fantastic.
Now, if you like apocalyptic films, I saw a film this week. I think it was called The Quiet Place, and it was actually a New Zealand cult film. I've not come across many New Zealand films. It's about this guy who wakes up in a city in New Zealand, and everyone's just disappeared. They're all gone, and he's alone. It's a bit like films like The Omega Man or I Am Legend, which was the same story. If you ever come across it, it's well worth checking out, because this one is a good film. So actually we could challenge each other to films which not necessarily all terrible. I don't know. So maybe at some point.
I like that idea, because I have to tell you, I didn't watch the Leprechaun in Space movie. I watched like a 12-minute deconstruction of it, but I did fake my way through that when you were talking about it. I didn't watch the Leprechaun in Space, but I would love to watch.
I think that might be better. I mean, I think because I don't like the films, I've not got that many films to recommend to other people. I've got lots of lesser-known, good quality sci-fi films, which I would love to share with both of you.
I would love that too.
And maybe, especially from your background, I'm sure you could do the same. Okay, let's maybe do that in the future.
Have you seen what we do in the shadows?
No, not seen that.
Oh my God, that may be a good one to start with. It's Taika Waititi and Jermaine Clement from the Flight of the Conchords.
Oh yeah.
And director of Thor and
I've got another good film. I've got a film it features Anthony Edwards and Denise Crosby. It's called Miracle Mile, and it's about a guy who takes a phone call outside, and he's just sort of getting together to go, and he hears that there's only an hour to go until the nuclear bomb's going to destroy the world, and it's a race to get his girlfriend out of LA. And I don't know why nobody's ever heard of it. And I actually met Denise Crosby the year before last as well, and I wish I'd talked to her about it. I really love that film. Check it out. I'll send you information about it. Maybe. Yeah, all right. I'll talk to what Martin. Also, ask what Martin wants to do if he's up for that. I'm sure he probably would be. He recommended me. I was going to say he'd
love it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he recommended me a film to watch, which he said is a good film. So yeah, maybe we'll do the challenge a week. Not necessarily a negative film. I think that might be easier because
let's do not horrible movies.
Yeah. Who wants to watch a horrible movie? I mean, I watched. Oh God! I mean,
sorry.
No, it's fun. Some of the things I've seen recently, no. I mean, that was awful. But yeah, all right, okay. Well, let's see what we do next week with. Hopefully, Martin's back. If not, we'll do it in the next few weeks. We'll do some good films. And what I'll do is, because I've done this today, when we talk about the challenge of the week, I will put in the left-hand corner of the video, because obviously this is audio as well as video now, the trailer of the film that we're talking about, which I think makes it more fun.
Super cool.
So that'd be brilliant.
Hey,
I think that's about it.
One thing to cap off on Dr. Moreau, Richard Stanley, the original director of the film, he was thrown off in the first 2 weeks of production. He snuck back into the production dressed as one of the Animals characters and was like running around, throwing spears and stuff in the final movie. So I just thought that was hilarious. What? Yeah, he had been this guy who was like a so passionate about doing this project, and it had been like his life's work.
Right.
And then he gets on this thing, and he was a new director, and like literally everything kind of falls to crap to him like immediately, and he went a little mental. As far as and so then he, because his dream had been ruined, and then so he snuck back onto the set. I find that to be.
I think that's brilliant. So there's probably scenes in the film which fans know of where you see him in the background dressed up as an animal or something like that. That'd be quite fun. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's really fun. So,
I think that
you know,
is hilarious.
it's just a shame that it didn't work out. But then I suppose in the end, it's definitely worth watching. I'm glad I saw it. I don't think I'll see it again though. But at least it's
No. I don't recommend anyone watching this movie. Just sit down. This is the kind of thing where you want to sit down and watch a movie that you just have to. You're just trying to wonder how it was made.
Yeah, and how it actually got out there. And yeah, I mean that happened with one of the Star Wars films. I think it was Solo. I think what's the guy in Happy Days? The one, it's Ron Perlman. No, not Ron Perlman.
No.
What's his name? The guy that plays in Happy Days. I can't remember his name. Howard.
Ron Howard.
Yeah, Ron Howard. Didn't he take over? He took over, and I didn't mind Solo, but I mean, like sometimes it works. I think Rogue One had a lot of problems as well, and in the end, Rogue One turned out to be a very good film. So sometimes, even if it goes wrong, it can still course correct and work out. But unfortunately, this film it didn't. So that's a shame. Right, I think, and on that note, I think we'll finish. Thank you again, Tom, for joining me today. Strange that we did have Martin, but I'm sure he'll watch this and hopefully he'll enjoy it as well.
It feels like we like we went out of the town without our best wingman. I feel it's great to hang out with you, Michael.
Thank you. We're going to leave with there was a funny song which was done by James Corden when he had an altercation with Patrick Stewart. So Patrick Stewart was drunk and he was going on about James Corden's belly, and somebody made it into a funny little song. So I thought we'd finish off with Patrick Stewart singing "I Can See Your Belly." Very silly, but it's my weird sense of humour. Tom, thank you. We'll catch you next week on the Solar One Sci-Fi Podcast. Thank you very much.
Bye.
I want to speak to James here. It's James, isn't it? From where I was sitting, I can see your belly. 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 I can see your belly.
Sorry, I'm waiting for the punchline.
Okay, belly. One more.
Sorry, I'm waiting for the punchline.
Okay, belly. One more. If you fancy the Jonas Brothers, cover your belly. If you fancy the Jonas Brothers, cover your belly. Belly. I can see your belly.
Belly. You can see my belly.
Cover your belly. Belly. I can see your belly.
Belly. You can see my belly.
Cover your belly.
Sorry, I'm waiting for the punchline.
Okay, belly.
No, seriously, go on. Sorry, I'm waiting for the punchline.
Okay, belly.
No, seriously, go on.
These people down here can see your belly. These people down here can see your belly. These people down here can see your belly. These people down here. Cover your belly. Belly. I can see 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 your cover your belly. Belly. I can see your belly. Belly. I can see your cover your belly.
Can we get a taxi ready, please?
Cover your belly.